Hi everyone. Now we'll start unit number 4 MS 430 Assembly and Embedded C Programming. On this unit you'll get 30 marks in external exam. Now we'll discuss solution for all the questions asked in question bank of embedded system. Now we'll start with the first question. Question number 1. Explain the coding guidelines for C. So ask for 5 marks. If you want to write the C program in MS430, then how to write the code? You have some guidelines, you have to follow that one. Then which are those guidelines? We'll see now. Texas Instruments, that means TI recommends the following coding style guidelines for C. This is taken from the README file in the code examples for the MS430X11X1. From this README file, you have taken this coding style. First one, no line should exceed 80 characters. You are going to write the instructions line by line. In each line you can write a maximum 80 characters. That is the best coding guidelines. So you have to follow the first coding guidelines. If you want to write any instruction, that should be 80 characters. Use macros provided in the MS430 header files. So MS430 has a header file which gives macros for the different functions. So you have to use those macros to reduce the code size as well as it reduces the time to reduce the write the code for the programmers. Next, comment starts in the column 45. First word is capitalized. So if you want to write the comments, and it's very good habit to write the comments for every line of instruction in MS430. If I want to write the comments, so you have to start from column number 45 onwards. It's a better practice to write the comments, and always you have to start the write with the comments. The first word should be capitalized. That's a easily identify the comments in the MS430 programming. Next one, for multi-line comments, additional lines are not capitalized. If you want to write more than one line of comments, so then you have to add the additional lines, but don't start with the capital letters. Next one, you have to use two space indentation. That means from starting instruction, you start writing the instruction in MS430, you have to give at least two space starting whenever you start writing the instructions. For every line you have to give two space. After two space onwards you have to start writing the instructions for the MS430. Now we'll see for second question. Explain the layout of assembly language instruction. Okay. Sometimes they are going to ask only explain the layout of assembly language. Sometimes they are going to ask explain the layout of assembly language instruction. Both will be same. So here, if you want to write any assembly instructions in MS430, what are the format you have to follow? You have to explain that format, or you can say layout if you want to write assembly language instructions in MS430. The layout of assembly language is much more rigid than for C. A typical line has 4 parts. So you can see that compared to C language, to write the program in assembly language, it's a little bit rigid, and you have to follow the below format. It has mainly 4 parts, that is label, colon, mnemonic, operands, semicolon, comments. This is the 4 parts of assembly language instruction. Here you can see that the meaning of every part. I have explained with the example here. Reset colon move dot w hash w ddtpw or with wdthold comma ampersand of wdtctl. It is the instruction for to stop watch talk timers. Here reset is nothing but label. So label means it starts in the first column and may be followed by a colon. That is for a clarity. If I want to write any labels in assembly language instructions, label name should be proper and it should be understandable, and after writing labels you should have colon there. After the you have to go for mnemonics. Mnemonics nothing but it is either an instruction or it is an going to tell the CPU which operation you have to do for given operands. That's information given by the mnemonics. It is going to translate into the binary machine code for processor itself or a directive which controls the assembler. So by using the mnemonics only you are can easily understand which operation is doing by the CPU of or processor of your MS430. Here in our example the mnemonics is move.w. It is going to transfer the data with the word operations. Next, in place of operands you are going to use the data or variables constants which is needed for the information, which is not always required. Next one, fourth point is comment. The comment is going to explain the instruction, that is you can say rest of the line. You are going to tell that the instruction information what it is doing followed by semicolon. Instructions and directives are not usually case sensitive, but it is good idea to follow the specific usage. Comments must be used by freely in assembly language because it is practically incomprehensible without them. You can use comments, it depends on the user, and here you can use this format if you want to write the instruction in assembly language. Now we'll discuss third question. Explain the different data types which are available in 8051C. Now we'll see the which are the different data types are available in 8051C program. And here I have listed all the data types in C programming. Data types in C. A good understanding of C data types for 8051 can help the programmers to create smaller hex files. And here these are the data types. First one, unsigned char, signed char, unsigned int, signed int, S bit, bit and SFR. S bit in the sense special bit, and that is used to declare the bits of special function registers. And if you want to declare a normal bits of your internal memories, you can use the data type bit. And SFR used to declare the entire 8 bits of special function registers. The character data type is the most natural choice, and unsigned char is an 8-bit data type in the range of 0 to 255. Excuse me, sorry. That is, if you take hexadecimal range, it starts from 0 to FFH. C compilers use the signed char as a default if you don't put the keyboard unsigned. This is a table which gives the data range for all the data types which are listed now. So you can see the table here, data types I have and size in bits and data range. Unsigned char, it's a 8-bit in size, so data range is 0 to 255. For signed char, it is gives the size in 8 bits. The data range is for negative to positive because it is signed for both types of values, negative as well as positive. So range is minus 128 to plus 127. Next, unsigned it, size in bits 16 bit, data range 0 to 65,535. For signed int, it is 16 bit in bits size. The data range is minus 32,762 plus 32,767. Next data type is S bit, that is size in bits is 1 bit only, and it is for SFR bit addressable registers only. Next one bit, again size is 1 bit, used for to access the or store the values for RAM bit addressable only. And finally SFR, size is 8 bit, it's used, the data range is RAM addresses for 80 to FFH only. Next question is, list the MS430 different categories of instructions. Which are the different types of instruction sets are available for MS430? We'll see now. First is movement instructions. It's used to move the data between different memory locations inside the MS430 and outside the MS430. Next instruction set is arithmetic instructions with 1 and 2 operands. You will get the different arithmetic instruction to perform the different arithmetic operations by using 1 and 2 operands. Next one, flow control instructions, which is used to control the operations by checking the status of different bits in MS430. Fourth one, logical instructions with 1 and 2 operands. So in MS430 you are going to perform different logical operations, that is AND or XOR NOT operations using logical instructions. Fifth one, byte manipulation instructions and operations on bits in status register instructions. If you want to perform any byte operations, byte manipulations, you have to use this instruction set. And last one, shift and rotate instructions, which is going to perform the shift and rotate operations in MS430. Now next one is, explain the MS430 movement instructions and stack operations. Ask for 5 marks. Here how movement instruction is going to work and how stack is going to perform. We'll see now. Movement instruction, there is only one move instructions to move the data, and it can addresses all of memory as either source or destinations, including both registers in CPU and whole memory map. And this is an excellent feature, and some of the processors have distinct instructions for loading a data from memory to CPU register or CPU register to memories. Storing it to the memories or memory to memory moves also possible. These all are available in movement instructions. I have given one example. You can see here, move.w source comma destination. It is perform the copy the data for source to destination. The data is going to store in destination, and here no one status bits will not be affected by the movement instructions. Next, stack operations. Stack operations is going to push the data onto the stack and pop them once the CPUs need. As you can see here, push.w src. What it is going to perform? It is going to push the data from source to the stack. It is pre-decrement, that's why it's shown minus sp. So it is decremented by 2 because it's a 16-bit data you are going to transmit. So that's why it is going to decremented by 2. Next, if you want to get the data from the stack, you have to use the instruction pop.w_dst. That means you have to get the data off from the stack, that is the destination place. You have to get it back to your original place. After getting the data, it is incremented by 2. That's why it is written by sp++. It's known as emulated instruction. The sp is fixed to be even to, so word of stack space is always consumed even if the only one byte is added. That means if you want to access any data using push and pop, always it is incremented by 2, because if you are even accessing the only byte data also, it keeps even address data and byte address data keep empty. Pop operation is emulated using post increment. After getting the data, stack pointer is going to incremented by 2. That's why it is called as post increment. Push requires free decrement. That means before pushing the data into the memory location, it is decremented by 2. Then it is gives the data to the stack. Next one, explain the MS430 arithmetic instruction with 1 and 2 operands. Here we are going to explain all the arithmetic operations and with 1 and 2 operands. First we'll see arithmetic instructions with the two operands. So in the arithmetic operations you are going to get two operands, that is source and destinations. With one operands you are going to get only destinations. I have listed some examples of the arithmetic instructions with the two operands and one operands. In two operands, these are fairly standard. The carry bit should be interpreted as not borrow for the subtractions. For example, add dot w source comma destination. It is going to add with the source and destination. Result is going to store into the destination itself. Next one, addc dot w source comma destination. It's same as addition of the previous instruction, but here along with the addition of source and destination, the carry is also included, that is going to add with the result of both, and result is going to store into the destination. Next one, adc.w dst. W means word operation. You are going to add 16 bit. Here add the carry bit with the destination contents. Result is going to store into the destination. In the same way, subtraction also going to work. Next one, arithmetic instruction with one operand means you are going to use only one operand in your instruction. These all are called emulated instructions, so not a core instructions. CLRW DST means it clear the destination to 0. Decrement.w DST means it decrement the destination by 2. Decrement D.w is DST means it doubling decrement DST by 2 emulated instruction. Increment.w DST means it increment the DST by 1 emulated instruction. incd.w DST means double increment, that is I have written 2 here. 2 means double increment. It's incremented continuously 2 times. Otherwise, if you return only inc, it incremented by only 1. Same thing for the decrement also. Next question. Explain MS430 logical instructions with one and two operands. Again, in logical instruction also, there are some instructions are going to work with one operand and some instruction work with two operands. Here I explained logic instruction with two operands. There are not quite the same as many other processors. We'll see which are the logical instructions. AND.w src comma dst. It is going to perform bitwise word operations between destination and source, that is logical AND operation. It's written by AND. Same thing, XOR operation. For that you are going to use XOR.w src comma dst. It is going to perform bitwise exclusive OR operation between destination and source. Finally, results are going to store in destination place only. Always the destination stores the result of your all arithmetic and logical operations. Bit.w source comma dst. It is bitwise test, so it sets the flags only after doing the operation of bit test. Next one, bisw dot w src comma dst means it is going to set the bits of destination and source. Result is going to store into the destination. bic dot w src comma destination, it's clear all the bits of source by inverted, so result is going to store in the destination. The MS430 has usual AND and exclusive or XOR instructions, but not an explicit inclusive OR. The AND and bitwise test operations are identically, except the bit is only the test and does not change its destinations. Now we'll see which are the logical instruction with one operands. There is only one of these. Invert operation is only the instruction which is going to operate with one operand, which is known as ones complement, which changes all the bits of 0 to 1 or 1 to 0. You can see the instruction inv.w dst. It inverts all the bits of destination, which is result is going to store into the destination place itself. If I return c is equal to not of z means the its operand is destination, it is not same as the changing the sign of number, which is 2's complement. Next question is explain the MS430 byte manipulation instructions and operations on the bits in status register instructions. You have to explain here. You have to list out byte manipulation instructions as well as which are the operations you are going to perform on the bits of the status register. In status register, you have the some flags, that is carry flag, zero flag, negative flag, as well as you have the overflow flag. How those are flags are going to work in the status register. Now we'll see byte manipulation instructions. These instructions do not need any suffix because size of the operands are fixed here. You can't change the size. It is only perform these instructions only for 16 bits. You can't do it for the 8 bits. That's why size is fixed. It is 16-bit instructions. First one, swap B source. It is going to swap the lower and upper bytes of in word operations. So swap the byte instructions, it is going to swap the 2 bytes in a word. There is no corresponding swap nibbles for a nibbles in a byte. You can't swap the nibbles in a 1 byte or lower byte or upper byte. You have to swap, you are change only from lower byte to higher byte or upper byte to lower bytes. Next, SXT SRC. That means it is the instruction extend the sign of lower byte. It's also going to work for word operations. In sign extend means the used to convert a signed byte into the unsigned byte into the signed word, or you can say signed byte into the signed word. It is copies the value of bit 7, which gives a sign of lower byte. In bits of 8 to 15, it gives the flags C is equal to invert of Z. That means whatever the sign bit is present for the bit 7, remaining all those bits are follow the same bit of your sign bit. That's why sign of lower byte. So that means whatever sign is there in 7th bit of lower byte, that is going to copy it into the remaining bits of your word. Next, we will see operations on bits in status register. As I told, you have the total different bits is there in status register. That is carry. You are use the CLRC. It is clear the carry bit. Emulator instruction. Next, CLRN clear negative bit. CLRZ clear 0 bit. If you want to set the carry flag, you have to use set C to set the carry. Next one, if you want to set negative, again you have to use a set n. The set negative bit, n becomes 1. Next one, set z means you can set a 0 bit. Z becomes 1. These are the bits, all are emulated instructions. The carry bit should be set or cleared before the instructions. That is, take it as an input in your program unless it is a result of previous operations. And this is applied for different arithmetic operations like ADC, ADDC, SBC, SUBC, DADDC and DADD, and some rotations RLC and RRC. Next question, explain the MS430 shift and rotate instructions, which is asked for 5 marks. Here you have the different rotate instructions. Mainly you have 3 types of shift and rotate instructions, and they are different in the treatment of the bits. They are shifted out of the or into the registers. There are logical shift instructions. It's a different than the rotate instruction. Then what is meant by shift instruction? Logical shift instruction always inserts the zeros for the both right and left shifts. If you are doing shift operations, it always adds the zeros. But in arithmetic shift, inserts the zeros for the left shift, but the most significant bit which is carries sign is replicated for the right shift. So for left shift only it inserts the zeros for arithmetic for the most significant bit, but it carries a sign. That's why it is replicated for the right shift. You can see the diagram how the shift operation is going to happen, how it is different than the rotation. In rotation, it will not add the zeros. It is going to rotate the bits throughout the bits of your data, and it's going to shifted by previous bits. It will not add any zeros. That's shown here in the diagram. Arithmetic shift is different than the logical shift I shown here. For left shift, it is the most significant bit is going to shift. For right shift arithmetic, it adds the zeros and it is going to shifted by 1 place through the carries. You can see that rotate instructions, you have different rotate instructions, arithmetic right, rotate right instructions, rotate left instructions. There also you have the different instruction I have listed here: RLA DST, arithmetic shift left; RRA SRC, arithmetic shift right; RLC DST, rotate left throw carry; and RRC SRC, rotate right throw carry. You can rotate both sides, which are shown in previous diagrams, and this is the main difference between logical shift and rotate shift. Next one, explain the MS430 flow control instructions. If you want to control some instructions of your program by using the different status, different conditions, then you have to use the conditions. And how you are going to use the conditions in MS430 if you want to control the flow of execution or flow of the program execution in MS430, and how you are going to jump from some skipping the instruction depends on the condition that is going to achieved by using the flow control instructions. Here you have the different flow control instructions. First one, BR SRC, that is branch go to PC is equal to SRC. Next, if you want to call the subroutines, you are going to use CALL call SRC. It is going to call the subroutines. Next, RET, it's another flow control which is indicates to return from the subroutine. RETI is a return from the interrupts. NOP, it is going to from the no operations, consumes only cycles but it will not do the any operations. Next, jump label is this unconditional jump. If you are using in your program, it is going to take the jump of plus or minus 1 KB from the current locations. BR, it is a unconditional jump. It can go anywhere in the address space and use only the addressing modes. It is slower and requires an extra word of program storage. Here these are all conditional jump instructions. These are going to check the conditions. If condition is true, it is going to take the jump to the labels which are mentioned in the instructions. If condition is not true, it is going to become false. It is going to execute next instruction after the conditional jump instruction. You can say flow control instructions. We'll see JC label. Jump if carry is 1, same as a JHS. I have written here JHS below. Jump if higher or same, that is destination is greater than equal to SRC, so carry becomes 1. It is going to take the jump to the label. JC, when it is going to jump if carry is equal to 1. Next label, JNC label, it is going to jump when carry is equal to 0. So you have to remember which condition you are checking. Either you are checking the condition for carry 1 or you are checking condition for carry 0. Both conditions are available, but depends on the condition it is going to take the jump. If you are checking the condition for C is equal to 1, you have to use the label JC. If you are checking the condition for C is equal to 0, you have to use the JNC label. Next, for JN label, jump if negative bit is equal to 1. Your result is negative, n is 1, it is going to take the jump. Otherwise JZ, otherwise it will not take the jump. Next instruction, JZ label, jump if 0, Z is equal to 1. Okay, it is same as JEQ. JNZ label, jump if non-zero, Z is equal to 0, then only it is going to take the jump. Same as jump if not equal. Assume that comparison jumps follow the compare.w src dst, which sets the flags according to the difference of dst minus src. Alternatively, in place of jump, you can use the instruction tst.w, which is going to test the flags for the destination minus 0. Now we'll see some conditional instructions. JEQ label, jump if equal, which are equal, it is going to check the contents of destination and source. If it is equal, JZ work, that means Z is equal to 1. That's nothing but if both are equal, take the label. GNE label, if jump both are not equal, which are not equal, destination if not equal to source, it is J becomes 0, that is Z becomes 0, it is going to take the jump. Not equal, condition is true. Jump higher or same. If destination contents is greater than source or same, it is going to take the jump, otherwise it will not take. JLO label jump if lower. Which one lower? Destination content less than SRC, same as JNC, and it is going to take the jump. The further pair of condition jumps also test the overflow bit of signed values. For signed operations, you want to check the overflow flag, then you have to use these two labels. Jump JGE label jump if greater or equal, destination value if greater than equal SRC for signed, it going to take the jump. JL or JT label jump if less than, JST content less than SRC for signed values, it is going to take the jump. Next one, explain the aspects of embedded C program. In embedded C program, you have some aspects. Which are those aspects? Those are asked for 10 marks. That aspects are declaration, how you are going to declare. Next, shift, how you are going to perform the shift operations. Next, low level logical operation, how you are going to perform the logical operations. Then masks to test individual bits, how you are going to mask and how you are going to test the individual bits. Next one, bit fields, how you are going to declare the bit fields, and in terms of unions you have to explain how you are going to declare. You are going to declare any variables, either volatile or constants. Using the variable for constant, you have to use the keyword const. Shift, here you have the two types of shift, one is left shift and right shift. Both operators have given here, that is going to perform the shift operations in C. Using those operators you can perform the shift. Next, mask to modify the individual bits. If you want to mask or make it 0 of your result, you have to use the OR operation or AND operations to mask the or change the status of individual bits of registers. Then if you want to perform low level logical operation, means you are going to perform the AND operation or OR operations. So Boolean operation result is either going to give in false or true. Next one, how you are going to test the individual bits using the AND operations. Here the CPU is going to test individual bits, and after that it is going to mask. For that I have given the examples. Which one you want to test, you have to write that pin number p1.in, and with bit 3 it is going to check the status, the result is true or false. Bit fields you can access using the bit data type. Unions is going to manipulate single bit or group of bits, but not for writing the whole register. Next one, some definitions they are asked to explain, which are useful to write the program in assembly language and C languages. Then which are those definitions? Editor, what is the meaning of editor? Then assembler or compiler is going to use to run your programs which are written in assembly language and C language. Next, linker, after running the programs, how it is going to link your programs. Next, what is meant by standalone simulators? What is meant by standalone simulators? It is the how the program is going to simulate your programs. Next, embedded emulator debuggers, how your program going to be run on the hardwares or debuggers. Next, flash programmers, how you are going to use a flash in your programming. And finally, IDE. These are going to ask for 10 marks. Each explanation carries 2 marks. Here we'll see editor. Editor is mainly used to write your programs, and if you want to make changes in the programs, you can edit the programs. You have to use the editors for the assembly language as well as the C language. There are different types of editors are available to write the programs. This is a place you can write, user can write the programs in terms of assembly or C. Assembler and compiler is going to use the execute your code, and it is going to use for check the errors. If there is any errors, it is going to display by using the assembler or compiler, and it is going to mention particular lines as well as the errors, which type of errors you have, that is also mentioned. It's very useful to execute your code. Linker, it is going to combines the compiled files. After compiling, you will get the list files, different list files from the libraries, that is going to arrange them for the correct types of memories in the microcontroller. Next, standalone simulator. You want to simulate the operation of the microcontroller on the desktop computer without having the real hardwares. That is, you can use the different simulators for your program to get the results the virtually without having the real hardware interface. So it is another advantage. You can get the expected result. If you won't get it, again you can change it, again you can run it. Next, embedded emulator or debugger. It's a actual hardware is available. You can run your program by using the real environment and real hardwares by using the different interface connectors. For example, at JTAG you are using for MS430. You can use any other special function emulation hardware also, which is improves the time for execution as well as you can get the real results. In circuit emulators, sometimes there are specialized and expensive hardware is there to helps to emulate your programs to get the result of the your program. It is used to control of debugging the software running on the desktop computer, but it does not use the usual version of microcontroller, but it uses special bonded chips which provide the access to the internal hardware of the emulated device. But it is difficult to even connect an emulator in place of modern microcontroller or flash programs. Next question is, there are asked some assembly and C programs. First one, write MS430 assembly and C program to light the LEDs. If you want to make it on all the LEDs, how you are going to write the program in assembly and C? Here start with the hash include MS430 header file, RSET code, that is program code. You have to write it here. I have written the code. Before that you have to stop the watchdog timer, that is by using instruction move.w hash wdtp w, making our operation with the WTD hold and get the address of control register of WTD CTL, that is stop the watchdog timer. Next you have to use the port pins for LEDs to make it on and off. I have used two LEDs, for that I am using two ports, that is fourth bit of port 2 and third bit of port 2. Both are using as a output, that's how I written p2.out using that instruction. You have to write that value is 00100b. You can see the second instruction, and third instruction to set the pins with LEDs to output to send the status into the LEDs. Keep this operation in the loop, that's why I am writing the infinite loop, forever loop, and finally this is going to continue for the all the LEDs, and this is for the same program I have written here for the C. Next one, write MS430 assembly and C program to light the LED when button is pressed. This is a program without button control. Directly after writing this one, your LED becomes on and off for the some delay. But here, whenever button is pressed, your LED is on. Otherwise, LED should be off state. For button, I have taken a particular bit. That is, I have defined here hash define B1 bit 1. Okay, and one LED I have taken for bit 3, LED 1. I have given the name, that is hash define LED 1 bit 3 for LED 1 bit, and for button I have taken another bit, that is I have defined. Before while menu you have to define. Next you have to again same process you have to follow. You have to first stop the watchdog timer. Next you have to give the freeload the LED 1 and give the direction as the output. Next you have to keep it in forever loop. Next you have to check whether the button is pressed or not. Depends on that, you can turn on the LED 1 or else keep LED off state. Next, this is the way you can write the program in assembly language. Here I have declared with the LED 1 equal EQ is the directive, assembly directive assigned to the bit 3. Here B1 EQ bit 1, your code is started. You have to stop the watchdog timer and freeload the LEDs off. You have to make LED 1 as the output. Next you have to test the bit B1 because it's a button. to check the button whether it is low state or not. If not, jump bit is not 0, button up. Here I am calling the function subroutine. If button is up, it is going to go for button up loop, that is to make the LED on. Otherwise, button down, then make the turn on. So you can perform the clear, that is active low, it's turn on the LED 1 on, and it make it this operation infinitely. Here button up comes to button up program, and it is going to turn off the LED 1 active low. It happens continuously, and it is going to perform the LED on and off depends on the buttons. Next one, write MS430 assembly and C program to flash LEDs with a frequency of roughly 1 Hz using the software delay. Here you have to make it LEDs on by using the frequency of 1 Hz using you have to use the software delay. For that, the same program you have to use 2 LEDs for bit 3 and bit 4, and I have added the delay. Software delay is 50,000. I have declared here the function name is delay loops. I have written the delay loops here, and it is going to stop the watchdog timer, make LED 1 and LED 2 on and off, set the pins with LED 1 and LED 2 to output to write the values to make it on and off, and the for loop for a delay loops is 50,000. So 50,000 is going to toggle the LEDs, and it makes on and off. And finally, this is the assembly language program, how to make it your LED on and off. Here again you have to take 2 LEDs assigned for the bit 3 and bit 4, and delay loops equated to the 50,000. It is going to use the iteration of 50,000. Next you have to write the code. First is stop the watchdog timer. Next you can make the LED 1 and LED 2 on and off using the P2 out register. Next you have to direct those registers as output to write the values, that is keep this on and off status in the infinite loops continuously. Next I initialize the loop counters. I have written the delay loop, that is start. Next counter is started, it start the compare with R4 values till 50,000 times. It is going to continues, and here you are going to toggle the LEDs using the XOR operation, LED 1 or with LED 2 by using the address of PT out. Jump infinite loop, again it comes to the infinite loop, the same thing happens 50,000 times. With this, your 4th unit is completed, and if you have any doubts, ask me regarding the programs and regarding the instruction set, and other than if you have any other questions, ask me, I will clarify your doubts. Thanks for watching these videos.